something we have to do. Okay, now I'm gonna take like a little. You see? Oops. How do you even do that? Smile. I'm gonna put this on Instagram. Okay, that's how we are. So, Rachel, hello.
Hello, Monica. Good morning.
Your name here is too small. I don't know what happened. Okay, I'm fixing that. So I'm so excited to be here, Rachel, with you today. First of all, I'm just, you see, I'm telling you, it's one of these days today that everything is like, anyway. So I'm really excited to be here with you today because we met in the past and we've been watching each other for a long time. And we've been witnessing each other's journeys, and usually I like to do a little color quick fire. That's how I call it. But with you, I don't know. I don't feel we need that. I don't know. We just So, okay. So what's happening is I'm gonna go straight in. Okay, I'm just gonna go straight in. I have even some notes here. You are a yogi, right? You're a yogi, and you are a multidisciplinary, multi-talented yogi, right? And
I do a lot of things. Yeah. And I love doing them.
I feel that. I feel you do a lot of things. I also feel that you are a lot of things, right? Because you are a yogi. You're also a teacher yogi. You also write. I remember the first newsletter I got from you, which was years ago. And it was long. It was really long. But I read it. Even that was long. I remember I read it. Because you write also beautifully. And you also make music, right? I have like a CD of yours, and I know you also come from a musical family. I'm sure that helps, as of genes and how do they say that? Education, or right, like exposure on some things, and then you also did this shift. I feel you did this shift. I don't know if you call it a shift, that you were not just a yogi anymore. You went along to this entrepreneurial journey through the online business, right?
Yeah.
Do I describe that right?
I mean, it all happened because I decided to write a book.
Okay.
And then I realized that in writing the book, I needed to have all these other skills. And so I had to start to understand how to use the online medium to get my message out there. And that's really how I ended up doing things online and helping other people with their online work, because I just, gained those skills basically through Google.
That's awesome. You paid a good price for it then. I think you did very well. But, I also actually felt that even before you started with the book, you started a little bit. You didn't...
Yeah, I started being very creative with flowers. And, when I joined Facebook in 2007, I would post a photo every day of these flower mandalas that I was making called yantras. And, it led to so many things. It led to in-person physical workshops in that medium. It led to me writing articles for magazines. It just took off,
flowers, yeah.
Yeah, with those flower yantras. And then, learning, I was blogging a lot, so using the blog format and growing through that and understanding that more. So there was a lot of different mediums, but I feel like it really just kind of culminated when I had to be a graphic designer, I had to be a publicist, I had to be a marketer, I had to raise money, so I had to be a fundraiser. I had to be a filmmaker. I had to be, all those things to promote the book. But even before then, for my business as a yoga teacher, I had to learn to make films and put them online and, use that for my promotion. So I had to learn how to use something like Final Cut Pro. And, that's an editing tool. which I sort of had to master. And like I said, I just did a lot of tutorials because I actually couldn't afford to do courses, and I didn't have the time to do those kind of courses. So I would just learn on the fly, by using the tutorials that are there and available online, I loved it. I just loved applying myself like that.
I think it's kind of clear to me, at least, that you're natural, when it comes to that.
Yeah, well, I discovered along the way that I'm really good with editing, so editing is something that I like, film editing, that I'm like, I can do those kind of precision edits. I discovered that I could just kind of throw the camera and point it at something and it would kind of work, because what I realized is it's all about style. And if you don't try to be like anybody else, and you don't try to look like anybody else, and you just work with your individual style, then whatever you do is going to work. It's when we try to be like somebody else and mimic some other kind of quality that we lose the essence of what we're offering. So, my style is kind of point and shoot and rough and tumble it together, and it kind of works.
I love what you just said, because there is so much, I work with women that are trying also to discover, what is their style and what is their unique thing. And it's also something that I'm doing, I'm trying to find my style and to express it. And sometimes I'm looking for it. Other times I'm just, doing what I'm doing. Sometimes I'm looking at my feed and I'm like, well, is my feed really unified? Sometimes I'm looking at it, because my feed is a lot like my journal sometimes. And, sometimes I want to post something and I'm like, but it's too busy next to that one. I'm going to put something cleaner and then I'm going to put that busy one. So, and then you look around and sometimes we learn, there is this very clean aesthetic now, right on Instagram, that is very clean and very streamlined and kind of calm and, not busy, uncluttered. But I think everybody, I think trying to really look like the trend doesn't really move you too forward. I agree with you. And you can't stand out. And I'm just so glad that you just discovered that through doing of your yantras, because I really remember them. They were kind of unique. And anyway, you and I had a little conversation last week. I was at the beach. The beauty of Wi-Fi and all that, and we had and this is exactly one of the things I wanted to talk to you about. I have like a few things here I want to talk to you about. So one of them, we talked about identity. I'm writing now, my own book, and it has to do with identity. And we spoke, is it really identity? Is it really your authentic identity, or is it really your authentic self? So after we spoke, I thought about it quite a lot. And actually you were also kind of an inspiration for me for that thought. So I think that when we start to really see ourselves and really realize who we are, this is when we see our authentic self, what we really want, what is really our opinion, without being self-pleasing. What is it that we really want to come out and say, right? This is when we're get in touch with our authentic self, when we see ourselves. So what is identity? Identity becomes identity when we put it also out there. This is the difference in the stages. We start with the self because we first have to, get in touch with, what we have already going on inside or even outside. Like if we look at ourselves in the mirror, we're seeing our outside. But when we really, think of it, what is an ID card? It's some information about you and your picture. Yeah. So you can be identified. And what they call, brand identities. When someone is doing their business card and brochure and logo, right? They're all identified marks to identify you and just explain, instead of having to bring your whole long bio, they're just bringing, a very short bio. So this is authentic identity. This is identity. When you really communicate who you are to the world, this is your identity. Okay, so because we were talking that identity is really a lot of things, where you came from and what you learned, what you absorbed, what you became, and what influences you had, right? And you're but it's also what you just, how you communicate yourself out. You know, this is your identity. And when we talk about authentic identity, is about putting out the real you, the real me, you know, the real us, and not something that is fake. And then I thought, and we'll get to your book about diabetes in a second, but then I was like thinking, okay, so Rachel wrote this book about diabetes. So that, I mean, she was sick, right? Like, it wasn't like you weren't trying to do now an act of whatever here, of standing out, right? you were not trying to use diabetes to stand out. But I think the fact that you decided to be creative about it, this is what made your authentic identity. You moved on to the next stage of that. Your authentic identity became your creative identity.
Yeah.
Okay, because you got creative about it. You wrote a book about it. You know, you researched, you did the pictures, you did, you know, you thought, what are you going to put? You just, so what I want to say here is that your most authentic identity is when it becomes your creative, it's your creative identity.
Yeah. And it's, you know, when you said that, yeah.
Because like, if I'm just going to sit here in my jeans and t-shirt, I'm going to be authentic, you know, right? But if I'm going to do something that brings creativity with it, then it's going to be even more authentic. Because it's not the obvious. It requires that effort, right? Like, we all are creative, and it's inherent, it's intrinsic inside of us. But if we don't do something about it, then nothing is going to happen. Like, creativity needs to be exercised, you know. So you were doing your flowers. It was a very creative act, and that became your creative identity, and that's your most authentic identity. And then, you know, you got sick, so you try to deal with it. You try to find ways that work for you, right? So you're also creative about treating your symptoms. You were creative about dealing with the sickness, living with it, and then to really try to create something new out of it. That's super, super creative. So now it became that the diabetes thing is actually your creative identity.
Yeah. this bizarre. Totally bizarre.
But these are the thoughts I had since we spoke. That was like a great example. You know, it's not just about putting makeup all over your face or, you know, coming up with like different gestures, but this is actually what you did. You activated your creative identity. It doesn't matter that it happens out of necessity. Some people are just, you know, feeling called. Some people just want to express themselves, you know, and, you know, you had that, your trigger was a little different the second time, right?
Yeah.
And
well,
Say.
Yeah, I mean, just what I wanted to say was, you know,
it was just.
You know, what I wanted to say was, you know, some people say, you know, I'm not creative. I don't have that ability to be creative. But everybody's creative. It's just like what we define as creative. If we say creativity is art, it's, you know, dance, it's painting. But creativity is cooking. Creativity is mothering. And parenting. Creativity is, you know, just having a unique thought in the day that inspires you. So, you know, creativity comes as like it's just, you know, we can't help but be creative because everything we're doing is creating something out of nothing.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
So the nothing is like, you know, what we're, you know, we get up in the morning and immediately we have an impulse. So that impulse is our step into our creativity. So the impulse might be, I need to check my phone and look at my Instagram and check what photo I'm going to post or what story I'm going to tell, you know. Or it might just be receiving the creativity of others and letting that inspire you. So, I think we're all living through this creative identity. It's just that we haven't had it defined for us because we're modeling ourselves against other people and what other people are doing or what other people are telling us, and we haven't actually just stopped and gone, but what is that? What is that passion for me? What does that look like for me? And it could just be the simplest thing, like just having a garden or growing some pot plants. I mean, creativity is just, it's our gift. It's the gift that we've been given, It's incredible.
You just said something that is kind of, that is really important, that you said we sometimes we're not listening, like to other, what we want. And I think this is very, it's hard, it's harder than we think, not only because we have these influences. For example, I'm writing now my book, and actually this week I stopped. I'm already on day 14, but the last 2 days I didn't write because I had, I hurt my foot and we had some other things here going on. And also I stopped, and I even started creating a new outline that is similar but a little different. And then I am asked, wait, like, which is the book that has to come out of me now? Like, is that the book? Maybe is that my dream? Like, I know I want a book, and I know I want a book about this, and I also know that this book has to be words, because there's a lot of things I have to explain, that it's not an art, book this time, maybe combined, but it's not just like imagery, which is usually my strength. So I was like, so maybe this is someone else's dream. Like, I had this thought, is that my dream? That exact book, is that my dream? Okay, now it's not that I haven't thought. I'm not trying to model anyone, but sometimes it's very hard to be 100% loyal and true to yourself. Like, you don't have to try to, it's not either you're trying to copy someone or you're listening to yourself.
Yeah, I think something
Right?
I'd like to add to that, because I had a really strong impulse that I had to write a book, and I'm not talking about the book that I actually wrote.
Okay,
I just had
interesting.
this strong impulse in February 2009 or something, like, okay, now I've got to write a book, and I've got to write a book telling the whole story of, what's happened to me, like my life and this and that. And so what I did was I sat down every day at 3 p.m. and I wrote from 3 p.m. until 9 p.m. every day for probably a year and a half. And I just wrote out my whole life. And when I finished it, I actually sent it to an editor, and she came back and she said, well, really, this is just like so long and you need to edit it, and and then I sort of thought, I kept reading it, and I thought, what, it's actually too personal. It's actually not something I'd want anybody to read. Wow. And I was convinced when I started writing the book that it was going to be the book. And when I got to the end of writing the book, I was like, no, this is not the book. But what I learned in the process of sitting down every day was what it takes to write a book. I learned the disciplinary side of it, so that when I was ready to actually write the book, which I was totally shocked that it was about yoga for diabetes, I had the discipline so that I could sit down every day and get through all the chapters and not be distracted, and because I knew what it would take. And it actually happened so much faster. Like, I wrote that in 6 months. It just flowed out of me. I didn't even have to think about it. It was so interesting. The editor hardly edited it. The publisher, when he got it, he hardly wanted to edit it. It was just like, it just was the right one. So it might not be the right one, but writing it is going to give you everything you need to discover what is the right one.
That's true. That's true. And that's why I'm moving on.
So it doesn't matter. So it doesn't really matter if it's the book you want to write or not, because you've just set yourself a task, and it's just going to unfold as it does. And then at the end, you'll assess.
That's
and
true.
You'll have all these skills.
Not only that, the thing is that this particular book I'm writing may be 2, or even someone told me there are 3 books in there. I believe there are 2. So I might just have to just split it into 2. Like, do it, but then I'll just have 2 smaller books, but each one has a more narrow focus. So I'm not even going to be wasting my time. Tell me, when did you write that first book you just said? Before I started writing. Before you were diagnosed?
No, I was already diagnosed. So I started writing it in February. Oh God, it must have been February 2009.
Okay.
And then I stopped writing it in 2011. So probably like March 2011 was the last time I wrote. I didn't really finish it. I wrote up to meeting my current husband, and then I stopped.
Well, that's okay. That's interesting. Maybe you were writing to meet him, so you can meet him.
Yeah, I was writing my way to him. Yeah.
Was it more like a memoir? Now I'm intrigued. You don't have, just.
It's completely a memoir.
Completely, okay.
It started as the opening chapter is about my first kiss. And then it had all these different sort of energies to it. So it would be you would sort of be following it as a timeline, and then it would flip to sometime in the future or sometime in the past.
Well, and that would sound fascinating. I want to read that book.
Well, maybe.
Maybe in 10 years from now, you will feel more distant from it, and then you can share.
Yeah, it needs a lot of editing. So, but that's okay.
Yeah, but it's also it's also your editing. I remember I participated in this group with Chidam Kobu. I've been participating, every winter now. There was like this 2 week of writing. And I never have time for it. It's always in the middle of my everything. But somehow, because it has been so good for me to just, write. I'm not a writer. Like, I don't call it. I don't want to be a writer. I just don't like to write. That's why I'm not a writer, because I don't like to write. Not because I don't own it or don't need permission. I just don't like to write. I also don't like to read, mind you. Like, I'd rather listen now. I don't like to, these people see books and they want to eat them alive. It's not, I love books, but I'm not like the avid reader, Like I think it's because I see blocks of text, let's say in Hebrew, forget it. I'm not even going near it, And I thought my Greek is okay, but it also has become not okay. So only English I'll read that. Anyway, so why was I starting to say that? Oh, yeah. So I remember, I wrote there something, and I wrote it on the last day. It was 10 prompts, okay? 10 days, 10 prompts. So I posted it one day after the last prompt. So it's like officially the whole thing has ended, and only then I dared to post it. I even edited like a part of it I didn't post, like I cut some part of it and then I posted it. And then I thought, that's it, like no one will ever see this ever again. Like, I'm not sharing this, like, just these people here, I know they're not, they're fine. And it took me some time, and a year after I actually mailed that to my newsletter list. That same piece.
Wow.
Yeah. Because after a year, I felt I was less, it wasn't less part of me, but I felt, you know what? It's okay. Like, it's okay to share that. Like, it's okay. It's just okay. And of course it was okay. I think nobody even it looked like another newsletter,
And that's the thing, isn't it?
For me it was a big deal, but
Yeah, I mean, we judge ourselves much more harshly than other people judge us, and that's what I was saying earlier about discovering my creative style as someone who works with film. It's like it's okay that my style is just to kind of whack it all together. Yeah. Like that's just me, and I don't have to be perfect. As long as it's engaging and it's capturing people and people are enjoying it, maybe that's okay,
Not only that, your style has to be defined from what you can do, right?
Yeah.
Either it's your resources, your kind of camera, the time you have, like the thing that builds your style is that, you know, what is available for you and what makes it doable. You know, like I do my self-portraits, but because I have to go pick up my kids usually like in 2 hours, like I don't have 6 hours or 12 hours days here to experiment. I never put makeup like Halloween, like all over my face. Because I'm limited and I don't want to leave the house looking like a clown. I could. I mean, not the end of the world. What do you think? That would look fine, but I don't know. I just don't, you know, I like to go in and out of the whole thing. I don't like to carry it out with me. So that's like a necessity. That's it. It's a necessity, but that has helped me define my style within my loop. So what you're saying also, you know, maybe you're doing it yourself, right? So to do it like this is what allows you to do it yourself, which means it's what allows you to actually do it.
Yeah.
So you're right. So you're developing your style. You know, it's like, let's say you dress, like you have like your type body. It's so, you know, you're skinny, you're more petite. So that allows you to dress in a certain way that fits your body, right?
Yeah.
So someone else has different body, so they will take on a different style. So this is the thing also about branding and branding yourself. It's that, you know, you need to make this work. It can't be all the time work. It just has to work. That's a quotable, right?
It has to work.
It can't be only work. It just has to work.
Yeah, no, it's really true. I think, you know, like, again, I just feel like we get so bombarded with branding and how we should be branding ourselves and what a good brand is. And then we just forget the naturalness that's there already. All the information is there already, you know, like what colors do you love? You know, like, you know, what kind of objects are you attracted to? You know, what kind of mediums do you like? You know, are you an audio person? So then that's actually how you should be presenting your business. So like if you're, you know, an audio person, then podcasting, that's probably what would work really well for you rather than video. You know, like, are you someone who likes to be in front of the camera or behind the camera? You know, like, you use exactly what you are to put your product, your service out there. It's okay, you know, like, and there's so much pressure, like, to be doing these Facebook lives and get on the live, and some people are just, they're terrified at that because they're terrified, and they're also not good at it because it's just not them. They're not visual people, you know. They like to write or they like to listen. So let that be okay, rather than feeling like it's not good enough or that you should be like somebody else. You know, that's really what I found. It's like, I only want to do what I'm really good at. And I often have this discussion with my husband because he'll be like, oh, but, you know, you just do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not good at that bit. And so why should I do something that I'm not good at? Because it's just going to make me sad, angry, and frustrated. You know, someone else should do that.
What does he tell you to do?
I'm just trying to think of what I would be complaining about. Maybe it's like, what is it? It's like, just like, yeah, you know, when you have to market yourself and, you know, get people on board to come and do something with you, but you feel like, you know, you can only toot your own horn so much. You know, you can only say, I'm great, this is great, you've got to come and do this. And then you feel like you want other people to be able to do that for you. Like someone to actually, you know, be the spokesperson, be the manager, you know. I mean, I can manage everything, but I'm just saying sometimes it's like
you want someone to be the manager. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, because management, no, it's more to do like with the management financial side of it. You know what I mean? Like, you know, how much, what's a budget and how budgets work. And because I failed math. I literally failed math at school. So it's just not, and I come from a family I come from a family that are bankers. So my grandfather was a banker, and I was like really bad at math. And I passed it on to my son because I was supposed to be his maths teacher. I studied to be a Steiner, a Waldorf educator. And when we moved from Australia to the States, there was like a 3-month period where he missed his maths lessons. So I had to, teach him magic multiply and divine divide and all this stuff. And I
never heard of that. Magic multiply and divine divide?
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
This
is so much fun.
Those are the characters that I taught him. But he's 25, and to this day he says to me, Mom, yeah, I did, because I was like a Steiner teacher, and Steiner teachers have to find creative ways to talk about numbers and letters. So I made up this song, magic, magic, multiply, watch him come tumbling by. And then I had to try to teach him these numbers, and it was just like hopeless. So he blames me for that. So yeah, so I think sometimes the financial side of understanding how all the numbers come together in a business would be good if somebody else did that.
I think this is the most fun thing I've ever heard. I didn't even know such thing exists.
Yeah. You're still laughing.
I am. Magic multiply and divine divide.
You'll never forget it, and neither will anybody else who's watching.
No, but I think you should totally put it out there, because I think it will. I'm gonna tell my kids to them, like, you want to do some magic multiply and divine divide. It's the divine, not divine feminine. No, divine divide.
I can't remember what addition and subtraction was, but if I do, I'll let you know.
Oh my God. Okay. So maybe special or something. Okay. Yeah. I want to remember that. This is okay. This is amazing. Anyway, I really like what you said. No, this is, but you see, you were even creative with that, with failing math, and you even done that right. But I like that you say, I think sometimes we have to do some pieces that are not ours because they are a piece of,
Yeah.
They're a piece of that thing. So then we just for the sake of making it work, we have to be our VA and our manager,
Yeah, and the great thing is, and I just want to emphasize this, is you get skills that you didn't know you had. And so, for instance, recently a friend of mine was desperately in need of a VA. And I just said to her, like, she needed someone like that day to help her. Her VA had left her. And I said to her, what do you need done? And she said, well, my VA was going to, freshen up and rewrite some of my texts. And I thought, well, I can do that because I write. So let me try to be her VA for the day. And I thought, well, if I can do it, then I've just got myself another skill that I can offer, that I could be a virtual assistant for someone if they needed it, in as an editor or a writer, So I think it enables you to get more confidence in things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And I think, especially as an entrepreneur and someone who's trying to build a brand, you have to be willing to do everything, and at the same time to delegate as well, because you can overwhelm yourself with doing everything. And I know a lot of people say, oh, well, in the beginning I did everything and I felt like I was just overwhelmed 24/7. So, I'm unique in the fact that if I'm not creating and doing something, I feel like I'm doing nothing. Yeah. So it's a little bit of a problem.
I share your
problem. Relaxing for me is doing something creative. So, let me make the next collage, or I'll do a drawing, because drawing I'm not really good at. So I could just do that as a relaxing thing, or, So it's just constant. There's always something that I'm thinking of making or doing or inventing, or, and that's something I need to work on, but not, No,
I don't think, I don't think you need to work on that. Actually, this is my definition of do it with color, Like, do it with color.
Oh, by the way.
Yeah.
I love that title because it's really sexy.
Okay, thank
It's
you.
really sexy,
Thank you.
right?
Thank
Do
you.
it with color. You don't know what do it means. You don't know what do it means, but it could mean anything. And so I think it's a brilliant, brilliant title.
Thank you so much for this feedback. You know, I've been working with this for like 2 or 3 years now. Like on my phone, if you get a message from me from my phone, it says whatever you do, do with color. That's what it says. That's like my message. But you know, it's not clear because people want to know who is it targeting, who should it speak to. But you see, it spoke to you. That's
Because it's not about that. It's not about. It's like do whatever. Do it with color.
Yeah.
So whether it's like living your life or writing a book or branding yourself, do it with color.
You know,
and that's really what you show and demonstrate. Yeah.
You know, I was I wrote a blog post about it. I was in 5th grade and I was reading my essay. By the way, as a kid, I was really good with essays. I really liked writing. But then things took a turn. And I was reading this essay and there was this teacher, I remember her name, was Kiria Tassia, like Mrs. Tassia. And she wasn't even like, she was okay, you know, but she was not like a memorable teacher. Like, and then she said one thing. She said, color your voice.
Wow.
You know what? I haven't thought about it since I was in 1st grade. Like, and I understood immediately what she means. I was probably reading like a robot. Right? And she says, color your voice. So I got it. Like, she didn't have to explain anything else. She didn't have to. I got it. And then only years after I started doing all this work with color, I remembered that. It was like a time capsule.
Beautiful. Yeah.
You know, color your voice. But that is so your voice has nothing to do with color like pink and blue, right? It's a voice. But of course it has. So this is it, you know. This is it.
Yeah.
You know, magic multiplies and divine. It's with color. It's math with color. It's really putting out a creative identity.
Yeah.
This is what do it with color means. To bring out your creative identity. And it's not just what you wear. This is what it is. Oh, I have goosebumps now. If I could have tears, I would have tears, but I'm not sad. I'm just, you know, tears of joy.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
You know, so, yeah. Wait, let me see what else I have here. Because you just said also now something. Okay, when I ask you to tell me like to write a couple of lines for yourself, I wanted like your titles. And then you told me you are, let's see how I have to read that. You're global yoga, right? Global yoga teacher, award-winning author, best-selling author and award-winning musician, right?
Yeah.
Right? And you put it all there and you're like, how is that, huh? Like you didn't say, you know, recovering modest or something.
Yeah.
No, on the contrary. I thought it was fantastic. Don't take it back now. So I really liked that you called yourself all these things, and that you call them like as audacious as possible. You know, I love that. Also, I love this as a branding aspect because it's this thing that we have to raise the volume of whatever it is. We have to raise the volume. You know, this is like wordplay. We were raised not to raise the volume.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, and now, like, it just doesn't work anymore. And it doesn't mean that you are not modest if you say all these amazing things about yourself. It doesn't mean that your values are, you know, out of the window. It doesn't mean anything. It just, today, raising the volume is a necessity for communication. It's a fact. Like, it can be. And that's why I was really glad that you did all these things, and I have to learn from you.
Well, it's interesting because probably maybe 10 years ago, I would be a lot more kind of like, oh, well, I don't want to really, say too much about myself because people will think I'm arrogant. But now, like, I'm in my 50s, and by your 50s, hopefully whatever it is that you've done, you can be proud of. Yes. So for me, it's like, I love the fact that I've had the opportunity for the last 19 years to travel internationally and teach all over the world. Now, maybe I haven't had, thousands of people come to my classes. Maybe sometimes I would be in a place and have 10 people come, but that doesn't stop me giving myself the title global yoga teacher. When it comes to best-selling author, who knows where my writing has been best-selling. It might not even be my book. It might have been in someone else's book that I was allowed to write a section of that became a best-selling. So, there was a discussion amongst my friends. Well, if I'm in this book, does that make me a best-selling author because it's a best-selling book? Yes, it does. So you can call yourself that. Award-winning musician, right? So yes, I produced 3 albums, and one of those albums received, best vocalist, best this, best that. But where was that award ceremony, right? Like, was it the Grammys? No. You know what I mean? I mean, like, so, but calling myself those things, it acknowledges the work and the effort that I've put in over the 53 years or whatever of my life. And I have gained those titles because I've put in that work, and I value that, and I value myself. So it's a lot about self-value, because I really value others, and I try to really support others as much as I can to do what they do best, because I love seeing other people shine, and I've always been like
Rachel,
that.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
But if I devalue myself to value others, that doesn't really serve me. So
yeah. This is a point to make. I want to emphasize it. That if you devalue yourself, it doesn't serve anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did all these things. And also it's also different disciplines. That's also not taken for granted, Not everybody does yoga and writes music and performs and sings and does yantras. Come on.
Oh, and I was a professional dancer for 30 years as well.
Oh,
but,
only 30 years.
I forgot about that one.
I forgot about
that one. Yeah. So that was a big part of my life. And I think that's where all that creative discipline comes from, because I was, at the bar every day doing my pliés, performing in companies, traveling, doing that,
wow.
having to be there and do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was from, I started dancing at 3 and I stopped dancing at about 37. So, and I was working professionally from the age of 18 till 37 as a dancer. So the yoga and the dancing were happening at the same time. They were kind of complementary.
So why did you stop the dancing? Like, what do you say?
I think
you stopped the professional dancing, you mean? Like you stopped performing?
Yeah. Well, I moved to New York from Byron Bay, and I was still working as a choreographer in Australia and running a dance college. So I was the head of a dance college, and so when I went to New York, I was going to be in musicals. So I started auditioning for musicals and playing my guitar and dancing and everything. And then I just realized, I'm 37. I don't have the same energy for this as I did, in my 20s. And maybe this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing anymore. So I just let it go. And I just threw myself into the depth of yoga. That's really where I just wanted to go into that stillness and that peace and that, that understanding, that knowledge. It was all like, that was all encompassing. It was like this sort of other part of me came out. And then I kind of got back into dancing like at home for myself. in my 40s just to sort of release tension, but I never really went back to professional work. And I'm not sad about that, because it's given me the opportunity to go into other areas like singing, like writing, which I'd always wanted to do, but had kept kind of quiet because I was this dancer and this yoga teacher, and I was this physical person, and those other things were my hobbies. So then I just allow those other things to come out, and I think that's a big thing that, again, we can really. When we let parts of ourselves go quiet, then other parts can shine that we didn't realize were there. And there's always more in there than we think.
I have goosebumps.
Yeah. Yeah, there's always more in there than we think.
Also, I can see how dancing, my son is now started this year doing some dancing. So many rehearsals and so many, I have to drive him to, right? It's very demanding to bring the whole group to do general rehearsal and costumes, and they have this little thing. It's not even something major, but I can totally see that, and it's interesting that you felt called to really put your energy into something, into a different medium, and to I never thought I'd write. And now I declared in the next 3 months that's what I'm doing,
Yep.
And I don't like to write, as you remember.
But you're doing
it. No, I was saying that to another long time ago. She's like, "But you're writing so much. I don't believe you." And she was like, "Are you sure? Because you're all the time. That's what you're doing. You're just writing and writing." So it has just become a different way to communicate things, and as long as it interests me, I even started thinking one day. I told my husband, I want to go join a choir or something. He's like, but you were like, I don't even know how to say that in English. You can't carry a tune, basically.
All right.
She's like, you're not you don't have the ear. Don't you see you don't have the ear? I always said that when I sing, if I sing, birds fall dead from the trees out of shame.
Anybody can sing.
Yeah, exactly. Right? It was just really harsh, judgmental attitude, right?
Yeah.
Actually,
and that's what I love about yoga music and devotional music is you don't have to be a good singer to enjoy that. That's something that you can just do, and you can sing completely off key and nobody cares because everyone's just carried away with the emotion and the devotion, so.
The first time I allowed myself, I think someone is carrying stuff. You hear that? Anyway. The first time I allowed myself to actually listen to my voice is when I recorded some audios for my course. I wrote something and I was reading it. It wasn't just video like that. I was reading it, coloring my voice, mind you. I was coloring my voice. And then I was like, wow, that's not so bad.
No, you have a lovely voice, by the way.
Thank you. I'll take that. At this point, after all the things I just said about myself, I'm going to take it. I'm not a singer material. That's for sure. But it is, I'm much more loving to my voice these days, even my accent. I'm fine. It's okay. Even I have these tics. I say, all the time. I will talk to you, if I'm going to listen to this, I'm going to tell you, My dad's like, I don't know. What is that? Anyway, so it's... Anyway, wait, so okay, so we talked about that too. How do you think... Wait, let me see what else I had here. To summarize that, there's so much good stuff here. I really like your creative unfolding, So in a way, you're also saying you don't even know what's going to be next.
Yeah.
There's suddenly maybe yoga you will feel now you just want to practice for yourself. And, I told you I'm going to say, And I think this is beautiful, especially as we grow up, as we grow older, because I'm a little bit younger than you, but not too much younger, a little bit younger than you. And I am very hopeful to see that this evolution is not ending. It's not going anywhere. Because sometimes when we view other people, like when we see like older people on the street, it looks like it's just going down. The health goes down, the interests go down, like, the mental things, everything's going down. But I think if you are creative and if you decide to live a creative life, I think this is like the thing. And I think you have decided that, even if you have not named it that. And I have decided that even if I have not named that before. I think that living a creative life just promises, it gives you the best chance of having a fulfilling life no matter what happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Because there's always another way to exercise your creativity, even if you will have problems with your physical, something in the physical will not allow it. I'm not talking about you specifically, in general, we may have new limitations, coming to us. The fact that I told you I fell yesterday at home here and I twisted my ankle, and it was like it was not just about my ankle. Like I told my dad, you heard about old people that they fall a lot. I was like, how do they fall? Well, that's how they fall.
It happens.
I told my husband, that's it. First fall. It happened. And I'm not even 50 yet. Okay, so it's like making peace also with what is, and new limitations, but also new limitations are opening also new windows,
Yeah, and I think that's really, anyone living, say, with a chronic illness, just to take it there for a minute.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that.
Well, when you live with a chronic illness, that as much as you don't want it to, it takes up a lot of your focus. So, you say, for instance, someone like me living with diabetes, I've got to check my blood sugar every half an hour. I've got to make sure that, my blood sugar is stable because I'm taking medication, which is very volatile. I don't want to be too high. I don't want to be too low. I've got to wake up in the middle of the night and check it. Wow. Every time I eat, I have to take medication to make sure that the food gets, metabolized properly. So you're like always on alert, And you can have, secondary issues, circulation issues. You can have, other things like fibromyalgia or food sensitivities because your digestion doesn't work as well. So there's all these things going on that are very, very distracting. So I find that having a creative outlet enables me to just have a little bit of a break from focusing on the 24/7 experience of living with the chronic illness, and actually, and it also stimulates me to find those outlets, because otherwise I'd probably have anxiety and depression. But I don't have anxiety and depression because I have different things that I can do creatively, which will take my mind, and focus it in on something else. So whether I'm doing the yoga, which is focusing my mind on my breath and my body and moving, whether I focus it in on my writing, whether I focus it in on my music, or cooking or whatever, then my mind is occupied, and I'm no longer identified with myself as a sick person or in that role as a sick person. I don't think about it, because whenever the mind is occupied with anything, it doesn't think about anything else. It just goes to where it's supposed to go. And then you're just completely content and completely happy because there's nothing else going on but that thing, which is really just reminding you of yourself, which is pure and unconditioned and doesn't even, it's just that purity, that pure wholeness, completeness. So any activity that we do that's creative is actually bringing us back to ourself. And I'm not talking about the individual self. I'm talking about self, whole oneness. Yeah. It's like a glimpse every time, We just don't know that. We don't know that that's happening. We don't know that we're with ourselves self being indefinable, infinite, massive, huge. We don't know that. But that's what's going on.
I'm like, every time I want to get like a little inspiration, a little, high magical something, I'll have to come back and listen to our conversation. No, because it's this, it's so easy to dive into daily. I mean, I know you live in Australia, the end of the world for me, but really life is very similar, I find, today in the world. It's very similar. Like, I see that people are dealing with the same things. It doesn't matter where they live, unless you are, I don't know, third world and you don't have water, but in our situation, that we have Skype to talk to and we have Wi-Fi, right? Like, we're already established on a certain level, right? Which is not just about monetary level. It's, general level of well-being. So I think our lives have become very much the same. We all struggle with the same things. And for me to really see our life, not just our vocation as creative. The minute I saw my life as a creative life, and not just that I'm a creative and I do creative things and I bring to the world creative things and creative solutions and creative insights, and I create, when I realize I want to live a creative life, it's a little different. It doesn't even matter if I produce anything of the usual producing, either writing a book or doing a deck, doing all that stuff. It changed things. It also puts a lot of responsibility, I think, on the daily actions. What do I do today that will make this day a creative life of mine?
But it's just happening regardless of whether you take action or not. And I think that's what needs acknowledging, is that just existing is creative. Just pure existence is creation itself,
Yeah, but what did you say before? I agree.
What? I said whenever you are in the act of creativity, it brings you to yourself.
But you said that you don't
know that.
But you said that if you haven't done this and this and this, then you would have anxiety and you would have depression. Yes, so you are doing things. It's your extra doing. They're both right. Just by being, we are creative. But only when we have it in. Like, the box is full. It's here and it's full, all packed, all the way up, full. But we can sit on the couch and consume creative movies and have thoughts. That's okay too. But only when we really exercise our creativity. This is when when we have a creative life. This is when we're really uplifting ourselves to a completely new dimension, I think.
Yeah, because we're tapping into the source.
Yeah,
it's just pure. Yeah, that pure potential.
But you see, we have to tap. Like, the waterfall is here. You have to drink it, otherwise it's just beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's like the purpose of life is just to enjoy it, right? So let's enjoy it.
Yeah. And sometimes we need to put an effort to enjoy it. After you do, look, sometimes the effort is just asking the question or deciding to get off the couch or deciding, okay, this interests me, let me explore this more. Sometimes that's all. Yeah. That's all the effort is. I mean, then it's effortless. Then it works by itself.
Yeah. I think anybody I've heard of who's ever kind of created something, come up with something that's, had a lasting legacy, was motivated to do that out of some sort of crisis or out of some sort of like hitting rock bottom and going, I can't do it this way anymore. I've got to do it that way. And sometimes it was just like a whim. It wasn't even like something big or huge or massive. It was just like a little tiny whisper of something. And they just felt like, unless I follow this thread, I'm just going to like fizzle and crumple. So I better just take that first step. So a lot of times it's like, just take that first step. You know, you don't know where it's going to lead, but just take it. And that's something that's really helped me with my health, especially, is like every day, the days that are tough, I just get myself to take one step. One step. Not just a physical step, just like a step, complete that task, or do that thing that is going to make you feel better, or, you know, like just one thing. And then that becomes like a snowball effect. And then you just find yourself, it just becomes, like you said, just flows. It just starts to flow, and it just becomes easier and easier. Yeah.
Oh, I'll think of my rock bottom. That's it. That's an interesting one for me. But Rachel, when are we gonna meet? I think we'll meet again.
I hope so. I think we might come to you, to Israel.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know when, but at some point we both want to come. So, and we have a good friend there.
Let me know in advance, okay?
I will.
Wow, look, I have so many goosebumps again. I have so many goosebumps. In these lives, I have goosebumps all the time, but today I had many times. You see, that's a little effort, a little effort to schedule, to decide to do it, to blah, blah. And then when it happens, this is what fills you up.
Yeah,
this is
totally.
What fills you up.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking maybe in Europe it will happen, but I'm glad to see there are possibilities before. Well, I want to come to Australia, but it will take, my kids have to grow up till I can do such a trip. Like, you know, it will be later. I can, you know, it would take 20 years. I'll get there, maybe. We'll see. Anyway, so what are you working on now? Let's summarize that. What are you working on?
Okay, what I'm working on now, I have a couple of projects. One is I've got a yoga teacher training coming up. So I've been doing a lot of work on the promotion of that, and, you know, getting people excited about that, because I haven't done a yoga teacher training for a couple of years. So that's happening in April and May. And then for the Yoga for Diabetes side, I've just got some ideas in the pipeline that I don't want to talk too much about.
Okay.
That I'm going to be kind of launching probably later on in the year. And I originally was going to do some sort of online program, but I actually don't think I'm going to do that this year, because I just want to get back into the world and teaching people face to face, and like just doing like regular classes in a yoga studio, or doing privates with people. Because when I launched the book, I literally for 3 years did nothing else but write the book, you know, get the funding for the book, launch the book. So that was 3 years that I wasn't really dynamically working with people, and that's what I love to do. So, so this idea that I have that's in the pipeline, it's a pretty big idea. It's something online, and it's something that involves a lot of people in the diabetes community who are also really interested in yoga, and helping them to get their voices out there. So it's kind of more like a community project that I want to sort of initiate. So, I've got the website, I've got the name. I don't have the branding or the design or anything yet. And I just thought, you know, I pushed myself through that whole process of writing and producing a book, and I don't want to do it that way this time.
Okay, that's a good...
I want it just to unfold organically, and it's just something I do naturally on the side while I do what I do best, which is teach yoga. So that's what I've got in the pipeline.
Amazing. Okay, and I have in the notes also your website, and if anyone wants, I really encourage you to sign up for Rachel's mailing list. She doesn't send too many emails, which is a good thing these days, but she writes beautifully.
Yeah, look, you know, I have this issue in that my own inbox is flooded with everybody's newsletters.
And there's some
I
good
read
stuff there,
yours.
you know. Oh, thank you so much.
I always read yours.
Wow.
I love them.
You do?
Because we have that beautiful connection. Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
but
of
we
course.
had, but it's also because of these newsletters that we have the connection, I think, no?
Yeah, but also just because I remember you coming to my classes, and I remember all the details about you coming, and I remember the first time we met, and how much I love your artwork, and just, so many things. So when I get a newsletter from you, it's like I get a piece of you into my inbox, and I would like that when I send out a newsletter that people feel like that too, and I don't want to bombard people because everybody always unsubscribes. Like, from when you send out a newsletter, you get like 10, 12 unsubscribes every time. So it's like, well, okay, I don't mind if people unsubscribe, but I know that what I'm saying when I say it is, genuinely coming from my heart to those people. I'm not trying to put them in a sales funnel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's just, it's so obvious when that's going on.
Yeah. But it's also okay to do that, I remember I've been sending for some years newsletters without ever pitching anything, and I think that's also wrong, by the way. Because people at some point they do expect it, and they want to work with you. They want to know where you teach. They want where you are, and they want to be called to actually, say yes or no. And also just sending, I'm telling you, I've been sending emails and never making an offer, and I think it's like teasing without ever delivering. You understand?
Yeah. Although you have, because I've done some of the things that you've offered. As free experiences. But,
I'm very good at offering free.
But we need to work on that, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, it's so interesting with newsletters and things these days because, you basically want, the newsletters that you choose to get are the ones that you're going to read, So like the people that I've kept are people that I really look forward to when I hear from them, what are they doing? What's happening? What is their latest thing that they're doing? So that's really cool. And I know for myself, like you get newsletter fatigue as a person giving out the newsletters and you go, oh my God, I've got to do a newsletter, it's like, I know how people feel because it's tough. Unless you've got somebody writing your newsletters for you, unless you've delegated that out. We were talking about delegating, and you just send that person the information and they schedule all the newsletters. But not everybody can do that when they're starting out, It
used to take me 2 days to write the newsletter. Now it's down to 1 day.
Yeah, no, it's tough.
Crazy.
People don't realize. People don't realize how tough it is.
It's crazy. Like I don't do other things, and I do the newsletter.
It's like I say to my husband, today's newsletter day.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, can't I just be creative? Why do I have to do this newsletter?
So, but you still want to do it, because it's your extension. That's how I feel, and I don't even have like a huge list, but I feel I owe it. I don't even know to whom. Maybe to myself. I don't know.
Yeah, but it's all part of it. Like, some people are only going to read your newsletter. Some people are only going to read your blog. Some people are only going to follow you on Instagram. So
some people will see that I send and they're not going to open it even, but they saw it. You understand? It works in all sorts of ways. And I think for me, I realize that when I write the newsletter, the most important thing is that I show up.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm
so inspired that I'm going to do my newsletter tomorrow because you've inspired me to show up. Do it.
You even have a topic.
Yeah. And I always set like this goal, like, okay, Sundays. I'm going to do my newsletter on Sundays. And then Sunday rolls around. I'm like, Sunday's a day off. Why would I do my newsletter on a Sunday? I hope people watching this aren't getting like exhausted. But anyway.
Or they feel, they're also going through this,
Yeah, I feel like that too, yeah.
Sunday is also my newsletter day, mind you.
I think it's a lot of people's newsletter day, by the way.
Fine,
Yeah.
Fine. Rachel, it's been such a pleasure.
It's been awesome chatting. It's been so fun.
Same here. Thank you, everybody. And see you next week. Bye. I'll go, wait, let me see now. I'm finishing the broadcasting.